Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda Rose and I am a high school and middle school teacher in New York City with 12 years of experience, and I am here to tell you why that teacher's classroom is probably out of control. Now the truth is, although I am talking about that teacher, sometimes we may actually be that teacher. And so I want you to know that I don't want anyone to take offense to anything I'm saying in this video. Sometimes the truth hurts, but we need to hear it because we're professionals and we want to grow and we want to develop and we want to be able to walk into our classrooms and not feel overwhelmed and stressed and cry every time we leave a certain classroom, because I've been there, okay? And so the things that I'm going to share in this video, I have experienced some of them, and others I have observed from other teachers, and I have taken the lesson of I will never be that teacher. I will never be that person that responds that way to a student. I have created a list of things. I am not an expert. However, I do think that I thrive in the classroom management sector of my classroom. It's not something that I struggle with. It's not something that I am concerned about. And that's because I have certain things put in place to make sure that I have a smooth classroom experience. And so hopefully you enjoy this video. Let's get into it, why that teacher's classroom is out of control. Number one, that classroom has no structure. There's no routine, there's no order, students don't know what to expect the minute they walk into the room. I have so many videos about classroom structure and order. I will link them in the description, but that classroom is probably out of control because there is no structure. Students don't know what to do when they walk in. Students don't know what to do in the middle of the class, at the end of the day. Students don't know how to pack up. They don't know where to put their belongings. There is no structure. Do you have protocols in place for every single moment of your class? If you don't, you may be lacking structure, and that might be a reason why that teacher's classroom or yours is a little bit out of control. Two, there's too much idle time for students. For me, every minute in class is accounted for. Transition time, this should take 30 seconds and I time it. This activity should take this amount of time. This should take, every single thing is accounted for. I like to overplan rather than underplan. If students even have 3 minutes to themselves, sometimes, you know this teachers, sometimes those 3 minutes can feel like 30 minutes. And all it takes is 10 seconds for one student to say something to another, for a negative interaction to turn into a fight. It has happened to me, and so I know this. Remove idle time from your classroom. Have every minute accounted for. The third reason why that classroom may be out of control is that that teacher is too nice. Now hear me out. I'm not saying that being nice is a bad thing. I think that I am nice to my students, but don't be a pushover. You need to be stern. You need to be able to learn how to say no to your students. Everything can't just be yes, yes, yes. That is also a part of the structure. Are you a leader in your classroom? Are you someone that your students can trust? Or do you just kind of go with the flow with everything that happens in the room? You may be too nice. You have to learn to say no. You have to learn to say, after we complete this assignment, you can go to the bathroom. Or no, you cannot go and look for your water bottle all around the room. You're going to wait until lunch. Or I will let you go a minute early at the end of class. Learn to say no to students, because your yes can come off as too nice. And then if you're too nice, you will be seen as a pushover. One of the biggest things that I've learned with classroom management is you have to be an adult that is trusted. Constantly saying yes to your students. If your no's don't mean no, then that could be an issue in your classroom as well, because it speaks to the structure of your classroom and it speaks to how trustworthy you are as a professional. The fourth reason why that teacher's classroom might be out of control is because there are no consequences for student behavior. If students do something that you don't want them to do, what is the consequence? There has to be a ladder of consequences. Maybe the first thing is to correct them, correct the whole class, then correct them individually, then talk to them outside, then say, hey, listen, this is not working. I'm going to have to call home. Maybe it's them staying with you during lunch and not having a conversation with their classmates. Make sure they get their lunch though. What are the consequences for the behavior in your classroom? It cannot always just be verbal consequences. That is exhausting, and then you will constantly be correcting children. The goal is that at some point you have to minimally correct behavior and not have to do it all the time. The only way that works is if you have real consequences in place for students when they exhibit a behavior that teacher or you don't like. The fifth reason why that teacher's classroom might be out of control, they don't respect the teacher. That is a thing. Sometimes the opposite is true. Sometimes some teachers are too mean and they lash out at their students, and therefore the students don't respect that teacher. Oftentimes students can think that the teacher's responses are either unwarranted or unjustifiable. And so you want to find a sweet spot with your students. Are you stern? Are you trustworthy? Do your yes mean yes? Do your no's mean no? But are you also treating them as human beings? Yes, they're your students. Yes, they are children. But the truth is, they are still human beings. And the way that you treat a 6th grader, in my instance, versus an 11th grader is going to be completely different. As 11th graders, I do treat them like they are a little bit more of an adult. 6th graders, I am a little bit more firm with them because they are still children and they need the structure. And so maybe your students or that teacher's students just don't respect them enough, and that's why the classroom is out of control. And again, this can mean multiple things. If your yes doesn't mean yes, if your no doesn't mean no, then whenever you say something to them, why do they have to listen? If you're constantly repeating yourself, hey, don't do that, I said no, then why would they respect you, right? You have to make sure that when you say something, that it means something and they are expected to follow and listen. If not, there are consequences. So the 6th reason why that teacher's classroom is out of control is connected to the previous one. Maybe the teacher doesn't respect the students. Oftentimes, this can happen with students that are giving them a difficult time. You have to start from scratch every single day with the student. Do not hold grudges, okay? I know as the adult, you may be like, of course I don't. But the truth is we do, because we too are humans. You have to do your best to not hold grudges. Every day should be a clean slate with your students. Give them respect. Be kind when there are moments where you should be kind. Be stern when there are moments when you should be stern. But if you're constantly always angry and lashing out and just mean, then you have nowhere to go. Like, there is no elevation. So you want to start low, right? Be kind. No, you cannot. Yes, you can. And then if there are issues that arise, you can increase your level of maybe like seriousness with your students or being a little bit more tough. But when you start here, there's nowhere for you to go, okay? You want to start towards the middle so that you can actually improve expectations, improve or change the way that you address them. But I've seen it where sometimes teachers talk to students in a particular way, and I overhear it and I am shocked. I'm shocked. The way that they can constantly just continue to scream and scream. They get it. 20 seconds. That's all it takes. Make the correction, reprimand, 20 seconds, and move on. They don't need a 5-minute lecture, okay? They're just going to interpret that as, this teacher doesn't respect me, or I ain't gotta listen to this teacher. They're always upset. They're always in a bad mood. I don't like them. And then that leads to them not respecting you, okay? It goes both ways, people. And the final reason why that teacher's classroom is probably out of control is because the parents didn't instill enough morals and behavioral expectations when they're in school. Yes, I said it. The truth is, it's not always the teacher's fault. It's not always my fault. It's not always your fault. your fault. It's not always your fault. Okay, the Brooklyn, the Queens, the New York is coming out of me. But that's just the truth, right? You can tell sometimes there are students where you're like, why are you constantly talking over an adult? You have kids that are like, I don't care that you're an adult. I don't care. Well, where does that come from, right? It didn't come from school. I'm going to assume that it probably came from home. And our students' background and their experiences and everything that they go through is so complex, okay? We interact with students that come from the most broken of broken homes to the best and the most privileged homes. We have no idea what they're dealing with, what they're struggling with, but the truth is we do also have to put ownership on the parent because that is their child, right? It is their responsibility to teach how to interact with adults, to say please and thank you, to knock on a door before you just bust in there and walk in. Like, there are certain things to say excuse me when you're walking by someone and not just bulldoze through them. These are things that we're hoping that parents are teaching them, but the truth is sometimes they're not. And we need to also take on the parent role sometimes in that aspect, right? Teaching them those social interactions, especially with COVID. We know that teachers love to talk about learning loss, but also just social interactions. A lot of times students don't know the proper way to engage with their peers and adults. And we may think it's been 3 years already, they should know, but sometimes they don't, okay? And so that's why we're here, to mold them and help them, and to also understand that that could be lacking at home, and it's not to be upset with them, it's not to be frustrated, it's actually to come from a place of compassion and understand that there are things beyond our control and that we do our best to monitor and provide the structure that they need, be the warmth that they need, but also the structure that they need. Kids crave structure. I can tell you this 100%, the teachers who have the best classroom management and who the students always say is their favorite teacher are the ones that have the structure, okay? Those are the teachers that can be trusted. Those are the teachers that students feel safe in their classroom, and therefore they are able to let down their guard and respect you because you've created that environment of safety and control, and you've kind of eliminated so much of the unpredictability with other students' behavior. And so I know I kind of went back and forth with this, why that teacher's classroom may be out of control and why your classroom may be out of control, but ultimately we're all in this together. If I offended you, I'm sorry. This is obviously a very small list. I'm sure that we can come up with 20 reasons why someone's classroom is out of control, but I wanted to keep it as simple as possible and to probably bring some things to your attention. Maybe it's things that other teachers have told you, maybe it's things that your own students have told you, and here I am repeating again. And so if you keep hearing the same thing over and over, there might be some truth to it. But again, this video is supposed to be lighthearted. It's not supposed to make you angry, but it is supposed to bring light to certain situations and to why certain things arise in the classroom. So that's it, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.